Hi, welcome to Building SaaS with Python and Django. My name is Matt Lehman, and on this stream we work on building Django applications or web applications with Python. We're going to continue on my app. It's a journaling app, and we're pretty close to getting it going from end to end with sending all the emails that it needs to. If it's your first time joining us, this is actually part 17. So the way this works is every line of code for this project is streamed live. I don't do anything offline. So that you can see all of the steps of putting a web application out there. And I'm building a journaling service. It's a service that will be powered by email as the primary interface. So we will send out emails and then use SendGrid as our email service, and the users will respond and send them back, and they will get back to our site and be stored so that the user's journal is kept in the database. And the cool part about this service is that it will prompt, it'll send a random prompt of a previous entry. So as you use the service more and more, you get reminders of what you've written in the past. So that's what we're building, and we're pretty close to being done with the primary loop. And I'm just trying to get the right tabs up here. So we're going to finish off the flow and finish off this launch milestone. There's only a couple things left. So the thing to do, that we still have left to do anyway, is to make sure that we parse our emails properly. Right now, when we're receiving email back from the SendGrid system, and we're storing something into the database, but we're storing all of the information. So if the idea is we're supposed to capture journal entries, what a user has written about how their day went, and what we're currently capturing in this setup is not only the entry, the content that they actually wrote, but also the prompt email. When you're in a typical email client and then you do a reply, the previous email is stored below. SendGrid does not parse that out for you. It doesn't make any distinction between what is reply and what is the actual content. So we have to put it upon ourselves to actually split that up appropriately and find a way to match out the actual content versus the prompt. So I have some ideas for how to do that, and it's going to vary depending on how clients respond with their or send back information, which adds to some potential fickleness to this. But I think that I have this in hand. I should note that if you want to chat about anything outside of this, or even about this project, you're free to ask me anything about Python, Django, or web development. And my voice sounds a little on the raspy side today because I've been getting over a cold, but hopefully it holds out. But I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. All right, so let's get down to this. I think what we need to do, most likely, is have a real email to work from to have confidence that what we're parsing is based upon something that SendGrid is actually going to send us. And so I think what we should do, oops, I've restarted my machine here, or it restarted for me and did some automatic update, and I didn't actually set things up. Apologies. So let's go into the journal repo and clear out the omyzsh and start our virtual environment. And let's open up a second tab and start the virtual environment, and that one too. So okay, so now we have something that we can realistically work on. Start NeoVim and go to our section where we are parsing out emails. So that's under receiver for the entries. So here's our code, and you can see we have this one to-do left in here. So currently we're getting this message text, and we're not doing anything with it except that we're actively storing just the text as the body to our entries. And that's what is going to store too much information. So I want to see, I wonder if there's a way that we can do this easily. Yeah, there probably is. I don't remember if, did we store? Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not speaking very clearly about my intent here. So I'm going to bring up a session. And I think what we did is I tested this out end to end and actually stored an entry. And so this is going to be an entry for me in my email account. So I'm going to have to be careful of what I show here. But what I'm going to do is start up the shell And we need shell plus so that it loads all the models. And we'll see how many entries we have. So entry objects dot count, and there's 1. John, welcome. I have not looked at Ruff yet, so I do think that we left that as an issue. Let's see. Ruff, yeah, here it is. Replace Flake8 with Ruff. So we're still gonna get to that. I want to wrap up and make sure that this is actually working all the way over there. But yeah, definitely still on at least on my radar. It's not on my mind, but it's on my radar. Okay, so I'm gonna have to put to secret mode here because what I'm gonna do is look at. I'm gonna get. I'll show you. Let's go ahead and get that entry. And I'm the only one in the system right now. And so if I get out the entry, it's gonna be for me. And so if I do the first call, now we have an entry object, and I don't even think I can show you the repr of that because it might list the user information. I don't know. So I'm gonna switch to secret mode. And what I'm doing now is I'm looking at the entry object and looking at the body text. I'm going to print it out, e.body. Maybe I did do some of this. Because some of this is looking familiar. Okay. What did we do? So let me do a split or a vertical split for email, or we'll just call it body.txt, and then I'm going to paste in the content that I'm seeing from the terminal right now, and so that we can all be looking at the same thing. And I do have to sanitize a little bit of it, so let me clear out of the terminal, get off of bash on the Heroku side, and clear that side so you don't see any email over here. And then in the actual content that I I need to clear out my hash ID, or the squid ID, I think is what it was called. So I'm just going to put in a dummy value here that we can use. And I'm going to save it so we can see that. Now I can bring the stream back, or the scene back, and we can look at what was actually stored. So for this test that I did, we have 2 lines that I actually want to preserve. And what we want to throw away is everything from here onward, because this is the prompt. And I was thinking about this, of how can we do this in a consistent way? Now, some of the challenge here is I'm going to make some assumptions that may be invalid for different email clients. Like, this is the response that my email is a Gmail account, and so when I responded, this is how Gmail formatted it back. But I don't know if that'll be true for everybody. For example, maybe you are someone in Europe, and you're in a non-crazy American country, and your formatting of the dates and stuff is in a different pattern than the American way of doing month and then date and then year. You might have a more sensible date, month, year ordering, or sensible to most of us. And, so you can't rely, or I can't rely, or more accurately, the code can't rely on anything of this line related to this date format, because that's likely going to be specific to how the email client rendered and displayed this information and then sent it back. Also, just by the nature of having different languages, people might be using some other language entirely for their system. Maybe they speak French or Spanish or German or whatever. The words here even might not be consistent. So we can't search for the word on. We can't search for the date. And I think I had in this message that I wanted to search for this, email.journeyinbox.com. But check this out. Like, even in my own Gmail parsing, this was the second line. So if I want to throw away from line 5 onward, I can't do this either. So I've been thinking about what's the best way to do this. The best way I can think of that does open myself up to some possibility that it works incorrectly, but I think that this name, Journey Inbox Journal, is the name that I'm planning to consistently use everywhere. And it shows up where did I put it? Journey inbox journal. It's part of the mailbox name that is going out with the send mail job. And so I think what I want to do, like even the quote marks aren't there. Like Gmail stripped them off. So I think the best I can do is look for this particular string and hope that most clients will show this much, that they don't break here or don't do some weird stuff. That's, I think, the best I can manage. Outside of that, I mean, I could do more shenanigans of saying like, hey, maybe we do want to look for at email.journeyinbox.com and then start looking up and see if we can throw out some lines above it. That gets a little on the scary side. So for this parsing that I want to do, my plan is this. We'll get the text, which will be a new line separated text, and we will put that in a for loop and go through each line and add it to some little buffer. And we will continue on that until we see this particular name in one of the lines. And at that point, we'll break out of the loop, assuming that we've actually hit this prompt line. And once we have all of those lines, we can chomp off the ones that just look like new lines at the end to kind of trim it up and clean the content so that we're left with what would amount to 3 lines in the actual storage. So the first line, a blank line that just has a new line on it, and the second line. So that's the plan. In fact, we can use this as our sample input for our test. I think that would be the sanest way to go about. So we have a test for, whoops, sorry. Okay, don't want to mess with any of that. Went to the wrong file. So let's go to the test receivers. And do I have an unfinished test, or did I not do that? Okay. Yeah, I think we just need to make a new test. So we'll say test parse message text. And what the test is doing, the message, I like to phrase my doc strings here as the requirement, phrase it that way. So the message text excludes the prompt information, I'll say. I don't know if that's super accurate or super good representation, but it feels close enough. All right, and then we will steal all of this and put that there. So this test should work because I'm literally copying from a different test. Gives us something to work from. Huddy, thanks for the message there. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing mostly well. I'm recovering from a cold, but I'm excited about getting this done. So I guess I should comment on the scope of what I'm hoping to do today. I think we're pretty darn close to like enabling this for actual delivery of email to the point where if I get this done today, I can start sending this out and in theory be using this daily for my own stuff and come back and report back next week to see how it went. That would be optimal. But first we got to make sure that we capture or log the actual journal entries in an appropriate way. The other thing I noticed about this, so I'll call it out while it's here, is that SendGrid seemed to do some wrapping automatically for me. Like this initial text did not have a hard new line right here at the end. And I noticed that in my service that I previously use, it would include new lines at weird places. And I don't know that I have any way to consistently know what is a new line that the user intended versus what is a new line that was inserted by this webhook, which is really unfortunate because I would rather have the content just like, if somebody wrote out a paragraph and they just kept going, I would like to preserve that, but I don't think I have that ability, which is sad. All right, let's do this. So we want to affect the body here, which we know is going to be in this text field. So I'm going to create a local variable, and it's going to be a multi-line. And again, since I'm getting over a cold, apologies for any like noises that I happen to be making. It's not the most pleasant thing, but that's the reality. All right. So let's do this continuation character here. And if it gets bad enough, I might have to cut it short this evening because my voice does not seem to be up for the challenge. All right, so now we're going to replace our message constructor with text, like so. And this test should now fail because the body is going to be all of this junk, right? Whoops. Yep, that's my fault. Forgot the comma. And predictably, it does fail. It includes a bunch of extra stuff. So what we actually want out of this is I don't care about these parameters. Those things will be whatever they are. And then I guess that also means I don't really care about the when attribute here. But we need to have the body be correct. And what do we expect it to be? We said that it's going to be the first line. We want, did we make it? Okay. And that's ends with a new line. And then the second one is going to be just a new line by itself. And then we have this is a second line. I'm trying to think if I want that. It probably should end with a new line as well. We don't want to trim that off completely, I think. Okay. Well, maybe not. We'll see. We'll see. Because the easiest thing to do is going to be join on the lines together with, with a new line. And that would leave off this last character, I think. All right. So we're closer. So it shows all that extra prompt stuff that we don't want to keep. So what is it we want to check for? Actually, let me, sorry. Now that we have this thing all preserved in here in this test, I think we can throw this away. I'm going to delete that file. And then let's bring up the actual receiver file. And we'll have this. And we want to parse out the text. I think I want to do this in a little function below, so it's not all in line here. That's too much. So we'll say body. So that's the thing that we actually want to get out of this. And we'll say parse body message.text. Okay. So we can get rid of the to do because we're going to use that in a moment. And then when we actually go to save this, we want to use the body and not this. Now, so far, this test is going to break because I don't have that function yet. So we got to define that. So we'll do define parse body. And we'll say, I'll do message text. Why not? Which it should be a string. And we want to return a string. All right. Parse the body out of the message text and strip off the prompt. That's really what we're after here. So we know that this is a new line delimited thing, and we're going to split this on that new line. Or, ooh, do we know that it's new line delimited? That's a good question. I think maybe not. I did a printout here, but the raw bytes, forgot about this. Yeah. All right. Let's leave that for a moment. Let me go back to the Heroku shell. So we're now back on the server, or a node that can access the database. And we're going to do entry.objects.first. All right, now I need to go back to the secret mode. I don't know that I actually did earlier, so you all might have seen. Just realizing that I might have said I was switching things and I didn't. I don't know. So maybe it's all for naught, but whatever. So E, the entry, dot body. Yeah, shoot. Okay, I'm gonna copy some of this over, maybe all of it. Yeah, I'm gonna copy all of it over, put it in my test, fix the formatting of it, and then show it. Because it's hiding something extra that's coming from the system. So let's see, let's change that. Bring this back. All right. So this is prettier, but it's wrong. So let's delete this. The problem is right here. I forgot about this. I think I showed this last time I was streaming, that the actual separator that is being used here is not just a new line. It's a carriage return with a new line, which is the CRLF is what it's often seen as. So when we are splitting, in order to be accurate, we need to really split on those two things rather than just the new line. Otherwise, we're going to have a bunch of these carriage returns. And I'm sure that you've actually seen this before. If you've done enough, maybe you haven't. So let me describe this. If you open up a file that was intended for Windows, and you're on a Mac or Linux operating system, when you open it up in a text file, a text editor like VS Code or Vim, what you'll likely see is that at the end, Vim has a method of showing control characters or anything hidden, and the carriage return \R is one of those characters. And I want to say it's like shows up like a capital W or something like that. I'm not remembering that quite right off the top of my head, maybe, but it shows up in your output and you don't actually see it. So I'm not interested in storing that. I want to have the data in my database be kind of normalized to not be Windows centric in this way. Like we put out new lines and write that out, and it should show up for users as I would expect. So we will actually do our splitting on the new lines, the carriage return a new line, rather than just the new line, and it should get out everything that we need. So I'm going to save this now as our new version of our test, and I'm sure something's going to yell at me later for being too long. That's okay. We'll fix that when we get to it. Oh, what's going on here? Huh? Integrity ever? What? Not null constraint failed. Oh. That's because I used the parse body thing and it didn't actually return anything. All right, for the moment, let's just return the message text. We can't have a null there. All right. Now it's looking more like we expect it to. And it confuses the test because we made that assumption that was just new lines. We actually need to come down here. Or maybe we do want it this way. If I want to store it with new lines, this is reasonable to have that as the expectation. All right, I think we're finally set up to do this for real. So let's do a split. We'll call it lines. Ooh, There is a split lines function in Python. Where is it though? I think it's a string operation. So this might be the best way to do this. Return a list of the lines in the string breaking at line boundaries. Now that line boundaries thing is the key. If we do this right, then the line boundaries might be observed to be, see, here it is right here, carriage return plus line feed. This method splits on the following line boundaries. In particular, the boundaries are a superset of universal new lines. So if we try and do split lines, let's see what that will happen. Let's see what will happen. Lines equal message text dot split lines. Hopefully it's chomped off like the carriage return, but we're going to find out. We'll print lines. And we should see this output since the test is failing. Good. So here we are. That's nice. That makes it so we don't have to worry about carriage return new line stuff. We just let Python deal with that. So our first three are the ones that we care about. This is the one that we're going to want to ignore. We'll have to like iterate backwards, which we should be able to do. That's the one that's going to look for our little marker, which we'll have to name. All right, so we're in good shape so far. So how do I want to do this? We want to, so we already have this listed in a set of lines here. So I think what I want to do is start scanning through those lines and enumerate them, looking for the presence of that marker. We'll call it, we'll name it, or maybe we'll just, I don't know, we might use a string literal. It might be a magic string with a good comment. Because we're talking across files here, which probably should be better about with some constants, but I don't really feel like it right now. So once we encounter the marker, we'll record the number, or we'll break from there, and then use that to make a slice out of the lines to throw away a bunch of input. So let's make sense of this. We'll call this marker line index, which will start with 0. And then we'll say for line in lines. We're just going to scan through these. It's going to be a stupid little loop here. And then we will do if. There might be some edge cases we want to think about here too. Yeah. The edge case I'm thinking of is like, what happens if we don't find it? If we just flat out don't find the marker, what should we do? So let me jot that down so I don't forget. To do what happens if the marker is not found? I think that would, with this naive implementation that I was going to do, it was going to have a pretty nasty bug. Or not a bug, but just a poor experience. All right. So here we are. We're going to look for if journey inbox journal. Make sure I get this spelled correctly. In line. Or you know what? We will only care about when it's not in a line. Then we want to continue, right? So if you haven't been found, just go to the next one. Keep going until you come across it. And I think also we're going to want to enumerate over this stuff. Enumerate on lines. And now this needs to be indexes first, right? I'm hovering to see if I can get the help text. There we go. It doesn't tell me what it returns. I'll forget that. Okay, let's assume for the moment that that's the right order. I think it's the index number. I'll follow by the line, the actual text. So if you're not found, just keep going. All right, so now if you are found, so if we've made it to this line, it's because you are found. So we want to set the marker line index to be whatever the index was of this line, right? And then we want to break out of the loop. So at this point, we have the lines that we care about is anything above that particular index number. So we should be able to do, I'm just going to put it in the same variable, but I'll do a slice of lines of everything before the marker index line. But the truth is, we actually want to do that +1. So that includes the marker index. Is that right? Hold on. Oh my goodness. Pay no attention to that information, I suppose. Whatever. Python. Here we are. So if we have a list of, it's been too long since I've messed with slices. So if we do a slice of, is it inclusive? Is that going to include 3? I don't think it will, right? It should just be 1 and 2. Yeah. Which, okay, so maybe this is right. So if we don't want to include the line with a marker on it, then we want everything in the lines above it. So if it's not inclusive, that's actually a good thing. So let's do, well, we don't need another print, it's already there. Let's do that. And then let's rerun the test and see what comes out. Okay, this is good. It's almost there, but we want to trim off this last line. We need to like work backwards from the lines. So let's see, there's probably a better way to do this than actually like iterating through. Let's do a little quick search. There's probably a clever little because I can't just do the naive version of this would be to say something like this. Lines is equal to line for line in lines if line. The problem is what that's going to do is throw out that second line that we want. So how do we trim off just the end lines and not any in between empty lines? I'm saying the word line a lot, I'm realizing. All right, Python, strip empty lines from list. Probably going to be the from, let's see, more accurately, from the end of list. That's from the string. Don't want to do that from a string. They're recommending to use a filter, but that's going to check out the second line, like I said, we don't want to do. Yeah, that's not right. All right. Not quite the question. I mean, it's the question I asked, but on the split lines, was there an arg for endings? That's a good question, John. There is, but it's for the, so it's like saying, do you want to actually keep the endings in the line? So right now, so you can have two modes where right now we're getting kind of the raw, or just the body where it's like not empty lines. This way, if you do keep ends, you'd still have the \r\n here, so it'd preserve all of that. So that's like a more raw format way to do this. All right, let's see if somebody answered that this way. You know, okay, here's another way I could handle this. Maybe. I could, all right. Watch this. Let's see if this works the way I want it to. Let's go ahead and join them as the body. So let's join it on the new line character. Join all the lines together. And let's, at this point, we're ready to return this as the body. Oh, my test passed. So, okay, that passed, but it's not, I think, what I wanted here. That's okay. Here's what I was thinking. If we store things this way, where we are stripping off the end, and actually being opinionated about that, saying that that part is not what we want to display, then if we've done that, at that point we can do a R strip on the new line character. That's a right strip. And so what I'm kind of taking advantage of is like, let's not work with a list. Let's just put it back together in a string. If there happens to be new lines at the end, just take them off. That's sort of the mode here. And that gets the test to pass. So I'm interested, what I'm not confident about is, do I want to store that last new line or not? Yeah. Let's go with this version for now. It seems fine. And then we also have to deal with this to-do. All right, so let's make a different version of this. let's call it let's call it what? Test parse message text missing marker. And what I want, here's the behavior that I want. If we can't find the marker, let's assume that I got some part of the parsing wrong, and I'm trying to be friendly and not have a bad experience for the users. So we're going to switch all this and say, when the boundary marker, because that's really what that prompt is, when the prompt boundary marker is missing, all text is included. I don't want to assert on, well, maybe I do. I'm just trying to think about what I should expect here if I want to test all of this. That's fine. Okay. Let's assume that something got, like, a new line was inserted in a weird spot that I wasn't expecting. We'll put it like right here. RN. Maybe somebody's got a weird email client, narrows it in, and we chop off and mess up our marker. Now, in this mode, what I predict will happen is this will never be found, so we'll iterate over everything, and it will never set marker line index. So the data in here is only going to be the string, did we make it? Oh, not even that. It's an empty string. Well, that's even more bizarre. Why is it an empty string? What? I at least thought I understood this. What's going on here? If this is 0, what happens when you do a slice? Oh, that's a good question. All right, let's go back to Python, list. Maybe, okay, I think I understand why now. So we got a list here. And slices are kind of forgiving of, if I did a slice, I could do a slice of like 99 and doesn't care that there are fewer than 99 things in there. It'll just return everything. So you can pick a number that's out of size. But if I do a slice on 0, it's not inclusive, which means it's not even going to include the first element. So you get the full empty list. So I think that what that would mean is that you'd want the marker index to be at least 1 in order to ensure that something is showing up. But that doesn't really matter because we expect the index to be there. So the behavior that I want is, if you didn't find it at all, we got to do something different. So here, where should we put this? We'll put a Boolean in here. Marker found equal false. And then if we get here, we want to first say, well, no, let's make it consistent in the ordering. Put it here. Marker found equal true. So now we have something to work with for that case where we didn't find the marker. All right. So we only want to do, so this is actually pretty easy. So we only actually want to do the slice if the marker was found. If it's not, just leave it alone. So if marker found, then do this stuff. All right, this is getting a little jumbled up here. Let's give a little breathing room. So this test from above should still pass. And this test is going to fail, but we're at least closer. Like Gwen, thanks for the subscribe. Appreciate that. All right, so now let's check on it. And we've got all this extra stuff now, right? So we don't want that to be our assert. But we can't just do this text either as the thing we're going to assert against. Because, let's check it out. It's going to complain. What, anybody predict the difference? Hope so. Spent some time chatting about it. The difference is the body will have new lines and the raw text has the carriage returns. While I'm here, let's get rid of those. These don't need to be a multi-line string. Let's make that just a regular string, please. It doesn't really matter, but it makes me feel better. So this is going to fail because, and it's going to even be hard to detect why it failed. PyTest is trying its best of showing the difference in characters with this underscore here, but you have to know that it's highlighting this character right there, which is really hard to figure out. So I think what we're going to do is assume, let's do this, let's highlight this, substitute, and get rid of those characters and just drop them completely. And then I think that's still not going to be good enough because we have that trailing new line. Yeah. So if we delete that, then we get the data that is going to match. All right. So it's kind of a crappy experience, but at least you didn't lose your journal content. That's what I'm trying to go for here. Is if I've screwed up, I don't want you to lose your journal because maybe you delete your emails. I don't know what you do, and that's not in the place I want to be. So a user might, if this happens to them, they get to report back and say like, wait a minute, why am I getting this prompt? And I can know with a fighting chance of, oh, here's why. It's because your email you did something weird to what I was expecting. I'm honestly not sure how I'd solve it, but that can be a problem for future Matt. All right, so I think we're done with our parsing stuff here. We have now parsed out the body. And we've got a short little function to do it in. We've got more test code than the function actually is. And I think we have a pretty accurate test now. Because this text is from a real email that I sent. It's not fake. So this is much closer to reality. So let's add this. It's gonna blow up on me. It's too long. So time to come over here and say, shut up, Flake8. What is it? No QA? Oh, what is it? Yeah. It's been a long time since I ignored stuff like that. No QA. Yeah, just no QA. Let's those two. And there's one more. No QA. Okay. Those look good. Now we're passing everything. Oh, hold on. Make sure we have coverage. I think I've got it all. Cool. We'll say parse the prompt out of the message text. Fixes What number is it? 45. Cool. That's pushed up, ready to go. And we're there. All right, what's left? We have one more. I don't feel a need to do an end-to-end test on this, on what we just did, because I'm pretty confident with the fact that I took out the actual message text from an existing message that didn't parse that properly. Shows that we had the raw data from what was in there. That will only work because of what was there in the past. And move that YouTube thing, so we all have to stare at that if I go to the wrong tab by accident. So that really leaves us in this position to wrap this up and get it going. So what's left here is to set up a cron job. And well, actually, let's go ahead and deploy. Let's make deploy, and it's gonna. I'm not logged into Heroku. Oh, apparently I still am. Surprised. So this is a pretty short release. It's just a code change. There's no new packages to install, so it's quick. Nice. So we're I think ready to get it going. And the rest of this is going to be some configuration. Excuse me. Actually, let's see if we can merge this. What's going on? Why were you failing? Lack of coverage. All right, I'll let pre-commit catch up when it does its auto update so that we actually have the coverage thing. So I'm not going to merge that today. We're down to this deploy task. And really, this isn't even a code change anymore. This is now setting up the daily job. And we've done this a few times. So we can go through the history here and we search for manage.py. We're going to find this one. This is the thing that we need to have Heroku run every day. And we'll set some basic parameters on it. And we'll see how this works. So let me get this going. I'm gonna have to get logged into Heroku. I'm sorry, I'm starting to lose it. So we might go short tonight, but my voice is not wanting to participate. All right, let me switch modes here and get logged in. Put in my 2FA. Punch in a code. So I'm about to be on the Heroku dashboard. And let me see if I can make sure I can show this. Oh, not really. Bummer. All right. Well, I can drop this down a little bit. No, I can't. It's got my email address blasted everywhere. Although I think if you're observant, I showed that off 2 or 3 times today by accident. So what do we need to do? We're going to configure an add-on, I believe is what we're looking for. And I think I can show everything now. So I was on the dashboard page. And on the dashboard page is a box that shows Heroku Postgres as one of my configured add-ons. And you can see it listed here as an add-on. The other thing that we're going to use is something called the Heroku Scheduler. So if we do a search for Scheduler, we've got it right there. So this is a free thing. It's free in the sense of it doesn't cost you any extra. What it does cost you is any compute time that you use. So just like when we log in and do a Heroku terminal, like I did over here. Well, I can't scroll back up to it. As long as I'm logged into that terminal, I'm basically taking up an active shell, and which means that Heroku on their platform has to run some code for me to be able to operate on my system. That time, I'm kind of leasing that time. So they'll charge me for any of that. And I mean, it's down, like for the stuff that I've done on stream, it's probably like a penny, 2 pennies. It's not really much. It's based on how long you leave it running, which is why you don't want to just leave a shell open and have a permanent SSH section in there. I think they would time you out, hopefully, but maybe not. Maybe they want to make money off you. So the scheduler is just like that, in that the using the scheduler is free in itself, but the schedules that you run, those have cost because they start up the actual process, your application, and execute whatever command you've given it to. And for as long as that thing executes, you're being charged for that time. So it nets out, just to be really clear, like this is a super cheap way of doing this. I think my current stuff, I've got a couple of them that run hourly maybe. And again, for an entire month, it's pennies, like 3 pennies, I think. It's really, really low. So this is definitely the cost-efficient way of doing background work, which is all we're trying to do here. The thing that we're going to try and do is have the mail sending job happen on a cron schedule. So it sends out emails at a time that I give it. So there's only one option here. There's other add-ons that you would add tells you how much it's going to cost per month, but you can see even the standard plan is free. But it's still something you have to order from Heroku. So let's hit the order here, and so that it gets added. So now we have the scheduler, and it's been installed. So when we click this, it should take us over to the configuration for the scheduler. And hopefully it doesn't drop in. What the heck? It opened up the favicon page? What's going on here? That is screwed up. Try again, Heroku. There we go. How did that happen? That was so bizarre. Okay. Anyway. So, see, it says the scheduler is a free add-on for running your jobs at different time intervals. Let's create a job. And what we need to run is exactly like what we were running manually from the terminal. It's the same environment, basically, as that. It's going to have all the same environment variables to run just in a production setting. And so what we do is we put in our command here, and we say manage.py. And what was the command? It was run jobs daily. That's the command that we want. And we want to set our interval. And we don't even have to put in like a cron, cron tab format. There's probably a way to do it in cron tab, but this is a nice way to go about it. So this is UTC. So when do I want to get these emails? Let me see. When do I currently get them from my existing service? Let me open one of these up. All right, this is sent to me at 8 in the morning Eastern time. And remember, we have an issue to adjust the sending window. So we're going to set this daily for now. But we will change that in the future to make it configurable. And I suspect that I actually did make it configurable and set my own time. But I don't feel like doing the math. What is... are we on standard time? I think we are. 8 a.m. EST to UTC. What time is that? 1 p.m. UTC. So 1 p.m. Just the next day. Is that what I want? Because how is this going to show up in my inbox? I don't think this is going to be the experience that I want, but maybe it's a start. Because here's what's going to happen. It will send out the prompt for the right date, but it'll be a day ahead, right? So if I set it to show up for me at 8 a.m. Wait a minute, how can that be right? No, okay, this is okay. Never mind. I'm getting myself wrapped around the day boundaries. We are gonna want to correct this, but I think this will work. Okay. So it should still be the same day. It's just like sending it later in the day from UTC's perspective, but it's still on the same overall day. So there's nothing else to set here. After running this or saving this, we should now have confidence that this will run. And it has not run yet, and we won't have any evidence of this until tomorrow. But we've tried to run this manually, and we've seen emails come into my inbox. So I'm confident that it's going to do the right thing. So I think that completes that particular item. We're now deployed to Heroku completely. And we've completed all of the launch milestone. That's pretty cool. So I think the next thing to do is close the milestone. We're done with that. So hooray, go us. So if you have any questions about this, like the app is now like ready to go, and I'm essentially now committing to using it. I can report back next week how it goes. I'm hopeful. I might have to. I mean, I'll still have my other service that I can use like a backup. So maybe if I find some bug, I can submit to the other one. Because what I'm going to do, I guess to close the full loop on my plan, is the service I use as an exportability to get all of my entries. It comes as a JSON file, and I'll be able to take that JSON data and like make a little import page to populate my own journal and seed my own journal service with my own data. So I'll have a lot of data to work from, but I want to make sure that the whole loop is working properly. But I think we're ready to like move on to some other aspects of this. Let's clean up a little one that I saw that I didn't really care for. We have, I can't really show this, but there's the sentence, "How are you?" in the subject line, and it shows up in the actual body of some of these messages. So let's search for this. How are you? So I found that I actually want to simplify this, because what was happening is what would show up on my client is "How are you?" as the subject line, and then Gmail would show preview text. It would also say "How are you?" because it was in the body. So you get "How are you? How are you?" and it just looked goofy. And if we actually didn't include the second one, then it reads a lot more naturally. So let's think of what this subject line would be from the sending. So let's go to the send. We want to keep this "How are you?" in the subject line here. So it's going to say, it's Wednesday, November the 29th, 2023. How are you? And then the preview, if we do this right, should say, reply to this prompt to update your journal. That's it. If we don't do that, it's Wednesday, November the 29th, 2023. How are you? How are you? Reply to this prompt. So I want to delete this here. And then I have to do the same thing in the text version, because we have both versions for different types of email clients. So I think that's the whole change, but I might have some failing tests of this. I don't know. Good. I didn't assert on the actual content. That was an easy one. Easy cleanup. Remove double. How are you? Fixes number what? 46. And I think I want to actually deploy that because I don't want to see these in all my prompts. I'm going to start getting this tomorrow. I want this to be a good experience. I think as maybe a palate cleanser, we'll turn our attention to this item. It's John's suggestion of replacing Flake 8. So there's this new kid on the block, if you will, called Ruff. And Ruff is a linter that seems to be a powerful alternative to Flake 8. And let's do this. Python Ruff. There might be, it's so common that I suspect there will even be a guide for how to switch. Is this the right place to go? And because it's written in Rust, so it's written in Rust, but it works on Python code and checks against Python code. It may also check against other stuff, I'm not sure, but I know that at least checks against that. But here's the important thing. It says it's a drop-in parity for Flake 8, iSort, and Black. Oh, that's fascinating. If we could get all three in one fell swoop, that'd be really cool. Yeah, it has linter and formatter. Oh, that's cool. This might also have the benefit of simplifying our pre-commit file. We should check on that. Because right now, you can see I've got Black, iSort, and Flake 8. And what I don't know about is this one, Flake 8 Bugbear. That's the one reservation I had about it, is Flake 8 Bugbear is supposed to catch some extra stuff. But maybe it's worth throwing it out. Like if this is the speed, like I don't know how much I was actually getting out of Flake 8 Bugbear, which is like an extra set of lint checks. Let's search for that actually. Python, Ruff, Flake 8 Bugbear. You saying it does, John? Oh, interesting. Wow, these guys crushed it. Cool. I don't know what I have to tell it to use that, but we'll figure that out too. That's pretty cool. Let me clear out some of these other tabs. I've got too much junk up here. Okay. So I know that this is something we can install. I have no experience with it, so we will just explore this together and see what we have to do. I'm gonna go through this as a brand new user, just like you. Well, maybe not just like you. I think maybe John has done this, but for those of you who haven't played with Ruff before, and we'll see what the experience is like. So right off the bat, it's pretty compelling. Like you can see, it's fast. And that's what you want out of these kind of tools. Like you want this basically to be the speed of thought here. Is better. I'm really curious how they managed to do that with Black too. That's really fascinating how they keep up to date with that. But I'm willing to trust that they do it. Oh, there it is right there. Flake 8 Bugbear. We have all the support we want. We get a single configuration file. Can't remember if I had more than one configuration file. Yeah, so here's the problem, or a problem with Flake 8, is that it's an older project and it doesn't support PyProject.toml. So if we switch to Ruff, we get to kill off this file, which is cool. Might have to set some max line length stuff and like, yeah, we'll see how we migrate this thing. Because if it's a drop-in replacement, that tells me that it maybe respects all the existing configuration files. We'll see about that. Like, and if I can, what I have to do I want to migrate over to a single file. How do we make sure we do it along the way? Built-in caching, that sounds neat. 700 built-in rules, works with editors. Ooh, okay. So let's open this. What did I put in here? Put in nothing. So how about let's start a new list. And so integrate with repo. Now this is where, so because it's a personal project, there's an element of this where it has to work for me. So I need to integrate with NeoVim, which may be a detour that you're like, why are we going there? But it's important for me, so I'm going to do it. Covers my projects. Good grief, how much does this stuff do? It's like the one tool to rule them all. That would be fantastic. So these are minimally there. Well, then we got to do pre-commit. We need to do CI. We can do all those things. Actually, I guess if we get pre-commit, we get CI for free because we're using pre-commit CI, which has that ability to run that stuff. And yeah, if it's that fast, I have a feeling pre-commit CI is happy to use it. Okay, so let's get rid of that template. We don't need to look at that. Let's go look at the docs again. Ruff aims to be orders of magnitude faster than alternate tools, while integrating more functionality behind a single common interface. Can be used to replace Flake 8, Black, iSort, which are all three tools that I use. PyUpgrade, really? I also use PyUpgrade. Don't use AutoFlake, but that's okay. I don't use PyDocs now. Wow, so fascinating. Okay. Let's do this next tutorial. So I want to install this most likely. How do I want to install this? Did I install those other ones as dev packages? I probably did. Yeah, I'm sure I did. No, I didn't. So I think maybe it's just like I installed that globally? What? Or maybe I'm just assuming that it was available. Yeah, I must have installed it globally. So I'm being a little sloppy with my project, frankly. Sorry. So let's put this in here. Let's go to PyPI and say Ruff. Are they really at 0.1.6? Interesting. Okay. Whoa. So it's installing Ruff. Neat. We now have that available. So it looks like the command is Ruff check. Expected at least one path to search for Python files. Did I not read the docs? Is there a dot there? Oh, sneaky. Thanks, John. Wow, that is mind-bogglingly fast. It's going to say 0, I bet. 0.01 seconds. That's so cool. I want to run it again. I am shocked at how fast that is. I guess I shouldn't be. Rust is a crazy fast language. It's basically sea-level performance. So that's amazing. And there's a fix mode, which we can have here, but I don't think I think it's going to be rare that I'm going to be using Ruff directly like this. It's probably most likely going to be that I integrate it with NeoVim, which will run it automatically as a background thing once I figure it out, and integrate it with CI or pre-commit so that it runs just like all of the commit checks that you have been seeing. So we will unlikely be running this by hand. All right. There are some configuration options that I'm sure we need to set. We need to migrate over. Why do they have their own TOML file? Maybe they plan to be a tool outside of Python, so you can do it like a general tool. Not really sure about that. All right, we have a PyProject TOML. Let's come down to here. Tool, Ruff, 88. I wonder what the default is. Because if we don't have to set the line length, if it automatically, like let's say if it says it's compatible with black, then perhaps it's automatically set to 88, which would be another configuration that we could get rid of. Line length, and it said 88 there, but what's the default? How does one find out the default? Is this the default? Aha, Ruff's default configuration is equivalent to 88. So cool. I don't even have to set that anymore. I love tools that I don't have to think about. If I could walk away from this and it's just no configuration and then I just run it and be a happy person. All right, let's keep going. Add line too long to the enforced rule set by default. Ruff omits rules that overlap with use of a formatter. We can override this behavior to explicitly add the rule. All right, I don't want to do that. You can see I ignore 501, so that's telling me that I don't have to keep this because it automatically does that deconflicting. That's awesome. And it's cool that they're breaking this up into sections. Like these are the global options. This is for the linting stuff. I wonder if the requires Python is the hint for the PyUpdate stuff. I want to see how that gets triggered. We have this settings page we're gonna have to read through. Because that's the challenge with this is it sounds really cool, but it's like, how do I know that all of my options are added from those other tools? Is it just automatic? Python, what was it? Required version. No, that wasn't it. Requires Python. Requires the minimum Python version to target, for example, when considering automatic code upgrades like rewriting type annotations. Ruff will not propose changes using features not available in the given version. If you're already using a PyProject TOML, we recommend requires Python instead. This is based on Python packaging standards. Okay. So I think we do have to set this. Now, I am using the runtime of 3.11. We can't do 3.12 yet. So what we should do is project requires Python, right? And then equal to greater than or equal to 3.11. Yes? Now let's try that Ruff check command again, see if anything changes. Nope. Cool. All right, let's continue on the tutorial. Okay, there are 700 lint rules. Determining the right set will depend on your project needs. Some rules may be too strict. Some are framework specific and so on. Okay. By default, Ruff enables Flake 8's F rules, along with a subset of E rules, omitting any stylistic rules that overlap the use of format, like black. Okay. Default rule set's a great place to start. Agreed. If you're migrating to Ruff from another linter, you can enable rules that are equivalent to those enforced. If we want to enforce PyUpgrade rules, we can set our configuration for the following. Okay, we want to do up for PyUpgrade. Let's take this. Let's come to the bottom, paste that in, run the check, see if anything changes. Which it shouldn't, because I had the pre-commit stuff already set, I think. Pre-commit. It was already set to 3.11. So PyUpgrade stuff should already be caught. Oh man, I bet Anthony has opinions about Ruff. All right. So far, so good. I don't want to use PyDoc style. Just not that interested. And because of that, I don't need to set a convention. Ignoring errors, that's useful. Adding rules. I mean, so far it's been working fine between checks. Integrations. Hey. Ruff the linter, Ruff the formatter. All right, all right. So just take this and copy it in here, like that. And we said I want to keep the versions matching, so that would be, what did we just say? It was 0.1.6, right? I'll leave the comments. They're not hurting. And let's add this stuff to the stage and try and commit so that it will try and run the new hook. Make sure everything's still working. Wow, it's so fast you can't even see. Well, maybe it didn't have any Python code to scan. All right. Yeah, okay, it skipped everything. Okay, I'm going to assume, this works. Let's do this. Let's take out PyUpgrade. Let's let Ruff do it. Let's leave Django upgrade until maybe Ruff does that too. I'd be a little surprised at that one. But let's take out black and isort and flake 8. If I forget about bugbear, somebody holler at me. But I'm going to keep going with the configuration until I'm confident that we're getting stuff. We've stripped this down. We still have Django upgrade stuff. We still have some security checks with Bandit. We have our PyTest options here, MyPy, which we haven't touched on. I guess the isort config can go away. Ugh. Oh, that's interesting. How is this? Does Ruff understand isort's configuration and profile? Do I need to tell Ruff about the source path for the import formatters? Huh. That'll be... Because it's going to be weird to be like, well, I have an isort config block in here, but it's actually Ruff that's doing the work. That's something I would like to get rid of. But we don't have to do that right away. Okay. Thanks, John. I assume there's going to be more, and I'm not done in the... I'm at the end of the tutorial, but I was going to keep going. So yeah, I appreciate you pointing that out. Let's, for the moment, delete the setup CFG file, because we're pretty sure that we're not going to need that. And let's just see if Ruff is like changing things now. I'll modify a bunch of stuff. Nope. Everything's happy so far. Right? You got the new pre-commit, new section, requirements. Awesome. Okay. So, tutorial over. It incorporated the highlights. Move on. We have installed this with directly a pip. Oh, Ruff format. Okay, that's a different command, but I did run that with pre-commit, so I think we're okay. And there's other ways to install it. I'm not going to install globally. I'll leave it as a developer dependency, and I'll have this. Well, maybe that's dumb. I might need to install globally to make Neovim happy, but we'll worry about that later. All right, here's the linter. Okay, so dozens of plugins. Rough check. Rule selection. Setting. We've got select, extend, select, and ignore. Ruff's linter mirrors Flake 8's rule code system, in which each rule code consists of one to three letter prefix followed by 3 digits. Prefix indicates the source. Rule selectors like select and ignore accept either a full rule code or any valid prefix. For example, see this. Okay. Ruff would enable all the rules with the E, so that's PyCode style. So this used to have a different name. What was it? Shoot. It was renamed Pep 8. That's what it was. I don't know how I forgot that. But I guess it was because it was more than just Pep 8. Or it wasn't completely Pep 8. I don't know, one of those two things. Doesn't really matter. PyFlakes, that's Flake 8 basically. Or Flake 8 is the combination of PyCode style and PyFlakes. If you're wondering how to configure, prefer select over extend select. Okay. Use all with discretion. Yep. Makes sense. Ah, there is the bugbear stuff. So let's do, I guess we need Did I already have a lint section? Yeah. And then we'll say select equal EFB. Is that what it was? Yeah. EFB. And future me is going to be like, what are these letters? But that's okay. Oh, hello. How did those get through before? Maybe I committed it before I had checking on. I did not. I guess I wasn't running it on everything pre-commit. Okay. Let's go fix some stuff. Accounts, migrations, 01. What was it? Line 81, 89? Yep, 80. Oh, no QA. Shut up. Oh, yeah, that was it. You're right, John. I excluded the migrations directory, I think. Well, that was for coverage. I think in the past, I have not excluded migrations. And I've actually gone in there. Like if I search for no QA, I bet some other migrations directories will come up. Yeah. I don't remember why I did that. Just didn't, yeah, don't remember. Probably not a big deal, but. All right, did that make it happy? All right, cool. Send mail line 34. That one's surprising to me. Okay. I mean, I should be able to do this. And break it here. There we go. Okay. And then the settings file. 109. Was it that one? 109. Yeah, these ones get long. Okay, happy again. Cool. Let's carry on. What does Flakegate simplify? Oh yeah, this I should definitely use this. And then get rid of the configuration I have. I don't know what Flakegate simplify is. We'll check that out in a minute. But at the very least, set with that with the select we want. Now I won't be asking those questions of what is EF and so on. Let's go do that search. Flake 8 simplify. Where are you? Simplify your code. Why did it take me to the issue list? Can I have an example? Don't. Okay. Cool. You can use git ignore as an exclude from checks with a setting. Huh, interesting. Sorry, y'all. I should find the mute button faster. All right, what's left in here? So we've got a good, reasonable configuration, it seems, and everything is still passing, as far as I can tell. I do still want to understand the isort stuff, so I'm going to keep going through here. This is the fixes, fix safety. I'm sure there's some details that I should care about, but I'll do that later. Disabling fixes, error suppression. Yeah, if I was good, I would do no QA with the specific error, but I'm not. Okay. isort action comments. All right. Maybe this is the isort stuff's going to be in the rules. We'll keep going. Or it might be a settings thing that we'll get to. Let's go to the formatter section. Don't innovate on style, but innovate on performance. I'm down for that. Okay, so it sounds like it doesn't have perfect compatibility. Oh, there's a whole section for this. You have an ignore on the removal of import not used during a fix. Oh, will it auto remove imports that aren't used? I could see that being annoying. It's kind of like Go. It's like Go will fail to compile if you have imports. So there are some tools that will like auto clean them up, but it's like, no, I wanted you to leave that around for a moment. I like to save frequently. Hard getting all this stuff perfect. I'm gonna try and ride with like the defaults as much as possible. I mean, obviously I'm making a little adjustment here and there, but if I can get away with just following like what's in their basic documentation and then just clean out other stuff, that's the biggest win for me, I think. And then I can get comfortable with other things if I need to. All right. Quote style, don't care. Format suppression, okay. Conflicting rules, don't care. You've already picked the set that I care about. Intentional deviation. That's fascinating. I wonder if there's like performance reasons why I would intentionally deviate. Okay. That's probably good enough. Configuring Ruff. If left unspecified, Ruff's default configuration is to... Okay, that's good. That's a pretty good list. Bazaar. Man, I miss Bazaar. I don't know if any of you use Bazaar, but it had a... I don't know. It was more appealing to me than the way that Git did stuff. Although I think my opinions have evolved in that time period. The Git stage does have some nice attributes. It's also confusing. So Bazaar was like what a next version of SVN should have been. But it had like first class branch support, which SVN I would say did not. Although people would debate that. SVN was like server side branches, copies. Not great. Showing my age. All right, let's keep going. So here's, they told us to use the Python require, so I'm going to assume that if you have it at the project level, it'll take that, prefer that over target version. Here's our select, fixes, quotes, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Man, what are all these? What are Q? Q? So many checks. Yeah. File discovery is looking for PyProject TOML. That's good. Did I have any other config files hiding somewhere? What do we have? We have that's the database file. We got the PyProject TOML. Okay. Got my vimrc. I think we're good. I think we've really narrowed it down to like as much as possible one configuration file. That is awesome. Now my one configuration file is a bit of a mess right now because of MyPy, but it's not bad. It could be worse. Could be worse. All right. So we've got the config file. That's cool. Python file discovery. Exclude. Okay, you can find those. That's cool. Still want landline. I don't ever use shell autocompletion. Is it like, does anybody use that? Is it fish people? Fish shell users, I feel. Fish people. That's more like a conspiracy theory. I meant fish users. I like their stuff does like shows you like what possible commands are there. Kind of crazy. That seems powerful. I just never got into it. All right, what's this preview thing? Preview mode. I don't know that I need that because I'm already kind of up to date with stuff. I'm gonna ignore. Rules. All right, here we go. So we got our PyFlake stuff. That's all the F series. PyCode style, W and E. Did I skip W? Should I include W? Tab indentation, trailing white space. No new line. I'm feeling like maybe W should be there. Let's see what happens. Nothing. Which is good. That means that I'm already like compliant with W. Okay, I'm gonna keep them. Got our error stuff. McCabe. I never use that stuff. I think people's behavior when they actually do McCabe is just either ignore or change their settings. Rarely do I see people actually react to McCabe in a way of like, okay, I'm going to really simplify my functions. I think it's just noise. Unsorted, missing. PEP 8 naming. I could see this getting really nitpicky really fast. And some part of me that likes the rules wants to turn all this stuff on. I'm trying to resist that temptation. It's like good enough code. I don't need all these other things. There are some that I do need. Like this makes my life easier. Upgrade stuff is like, sure, make my life easier. But the other stuff about nag me about things not being named correctly, pass. Blakey 2020. Annotations. Yeah. MyPy's cool. Annotations are cool, but don't think I need them all. Bandit. Can it do bandit stuff? I mean, it seems like it can. I don't know if it's the exact list of for bandit. Let's check this out. Are you just a pass-through for bandit? Like a bugbear uses bandit. Uses the prefix B. Okay, so we place it. Okay. Well, shoot. If I could get bandit in my... Yeah, I think that's worth it. Because I already have bandit for security check, but I only get it at pre-commit time. And if I could get it basically for free by adding this Flake8 bandit thing, that brings me closer to what I already had. So it's not really burdensome. It catches it. The nice part about that would be showing a bandit error early, because presumably, like what I'm able to do with NeoVim, which I haven't done yet, is integrate Ruff into my editor, and then I'd get warnings would show up in the gutter from anything that Ruff found, and would run faster than Flake and Black, which I'm currently using, which would be nice. I might have to change my. There's a bunch of stuff I have to change. Boo. Okay, but I want to do bandit, which was this one, which is S. So let's put this in here. I guess we'll just put it at the bottom, or put it right. Keep the. It's not even alpha sorted. What is this? Pi F. Okay, whatever. Flake8 bandit. That is S. How does it do? Hopefully nothing. Oh, boo. All right, he's complaining about assert, which is something that I have in my pre-commit as checking PyProject toml. Why are you not checking? You're looking for a bandit file or something? To include or exclude tests, use the standard bandit configuration file. I don't want a standard bandit configuration file. I want to use PyProject toml. Nope. All right. Forget it. Not worth the headache. I still got it in pre-commit. It's good enough. That's disappointing. Although I'm like at this point I'm looking at gift horse in a mouth. This is pretty awesome overall, but it would have been nice if it had just done the right thing. Okay, keep going. More Flake8 plugins, Bugbear, built-ins, commas, copyright. Holy cow! All right, there's so many of these things. I can go crazy. Flake8 Django. I don't care. Executable future. All right, we're halfway there. Logging formatting. What is this one? PYI. Oh. If you have annotation files, probably. Okay. I see your comment there, John. I guess what I was one understanding is like I'd have to move my bandit configuration to be that .bandit file, and I don't want to create another separate configuration file. Or are you saying like, oh, I think I see what you're saying. Is you could say have Ruff exclude that particular check. All right, I understand. Well, we're saying keep flake8 bandit, and then tell it to shut up about 101 here, rather than do that with. So right now, it's complaining. I have it for skipping B101 and 311. So we could say move those skips into the configuration, the Ruff configuration. What was the syntax? Was it ignore? Ignore, yeah. So if we did, so let's confirm that it's going to complain again. Whoops. Got to write the file. It's going to complain. All right. And then we say ignore. This time I'll write down what they are. Bandit assert checking. Roughly what that one is. Or you know what? Just I'll use the name from here. Bandit use of assert detected. S101. There's a challenge here, I guess, in that now I have to keep both the bandit section and the Ruff section, so I'm duplicating a little bit. It's probably okay. If it allows me to like not create another configuration file, I'm okay with that. And then wait. Models 19. Maybe that was a real one. Entry models 19. Standard pseudo-random generators are not suitable for cryptographic. It's not cryptographic. So John, I'm going to keep the bandit section because I'm going to keep it in pre-commit. Oh, I don't. No, never mind. If Ruff is now running this, you're right. You're right. I'm not thinking this through. If I can get rid of it here, because I can also get rid of it here and let Ruff take over running bandit through flake8. So thanks for challenging me on that, John. Appreciate it. And really, for this one, I shouldn't ignore 311. I should put it at the other side. That's what I should do. So I'm going to leave just 101, and then up here, where I'm using random choice, I'm going to say shut up, bandit. So there's 311. I should be able to say no QA S311. Because I'm not using it for cryptographic reasons. All right, that's optimal, I think, because I don't want to globally ignore that. Because like, who knows? Maybe there's a future where I do something cryptographic with this project. I doubt it, but hey, never know. All right, cool. So we've got that. PyTest. Quotes. Raise, return. Jeez. What is all this stuff? There's just so many. Ooh, PyLint? Really? Man, that's bold. Although, so I'm not being very charitable. PyLint has some good checks in there. Sometimes it gets a little too opinionated. The other problem, or my other big problem with PyLint, is that it was super slow comparatively. I think even, was PyLint on that list? Probably was. Let's go back to this other page. Yeah. Like, it's way slow. And this is being generous. Like on a big project, I've seen PyLint take forever. I use it at work for one of my repos at work. And the biggest one, big monolith, it takes a long time. But it catches some good stuff. That's the challenge. Double-edged sword. All right, almost there. Triceratops, fly, NT, NumPy, Airflow. We're getting to the kind of obscure ones here. Oh, interesting. Ruff put in some opinions of their own, I guess. What happens if we run that? That's just curious. How's the project call itself? Capital R. These would be RUF, right? Okay, do I want to mess with this? No, that one doesn't seem worth it to me. All right, good enough. Pretty good list. That was the last one. Now, we do still have to figure out that the one thing I want to still figure out before we can call it total victory is, how do I get this out of here? How do I get the iSort section gone? So let's get rid of this page. Settings. Let's see if iSort shows up. Here's iSort. And then what is the thing called? Source paths. So we need to have equivalent behavior. Maybe they have source paths. Nope. What's the equivalent to source paths? I should add the rough. Do I have a? It seems to already be there. You're saying add the rough cache. Do I have that? Did it show up? There's rough cache. I wonder why that's already being ignored. Let's look. Git ignore. Rough. Nope. Maybe it's because it's a dot. No, that wouldn't make sense. Shouldn't ignore. Or is there nothing in it? Perhaps there's nothing in it yet. No. Definitely something in there. I'm not missing this, right? No, there's... Seems to be ignored. Ow. I didn't commit that by accident, did I? I haven't made a commit yet. Yeah, there's nothing here. That's the git log command. How are you getting ignored? Is there a way to... I'm sure there's some kind of way to tell the what rule is being applied, but I don't know what it is. Or maybe it's all the files in there are of names that show up in this list and they just happen to get ignored. Not really sure. Okay. Let's search for Ruff source paths. See what happens. Source path. I don't know, man. That seems like... Or is this known first party? I always thought it was kind of a weird name for iSort. Let's go to the iSort documentation. Oh my goodness. Got this 2 split up. Add an explicitly defined source path. Modules within source paths have their imports automatically categorized as first party. Or maybe I can just say journal as known first party. All right, hold on. A list of modules to consider first party, regardless of whether they can be identified as such via introspection of the file system. All right, let me try for a moment. Well, first of all, let's take all these changes and stage them. Yeah. We've got our stage. And then let's try to comment out this section. And then let's run Ruff check. Or was it going to be Ruff format? So maybe it just figured it out. In which case, awesome. Let's test it. Let's come up here. Delete this, and I want to do a no auto write. No auto command write, so that my black formatting does not automatically run. So it's going to leave that with no space between them. And let's run both. Let's run Ruff check first. Okay, it's complaining. It is fixable. So what is that? -- fix. Cool. All right, so apparently I figured it out, which is great. Even less configuration. So I don't have to worry about it. Cool. I'm not really interested in MyPy right now. Let's get rid of that. All right, we're pretty close. We have reduced a lot of tools. The entire file is 47 lines. It's pretty amazing. And everything seems to be running properly. Pre-commit -a. I thought it was, oh, no. Okay. Pre-commit run -a is cool. Pretty fast, too. Okay. Neat. I don't want to scan through all of those other things again, because it looks like these are settings that are related to a lot of those plugins. We've got settings related to Ruff itself, top level settings, but everything seems to be working. And there's some stuff that we can control on Bandit, some stuff we control on Bugbear, but I don't care. All right, I dig it. Versioning. So yeah, let's explain that versioning story to me. They've never had a major version, I guess. That's quite a commitment to backwards compatibility so far. Oh yes. We have to think about these other tools. So we've got pre-commit. And if we have type checking, yeah, I probably would benefit from some type checking later. And I just don't want to do it yet. I don't know. I think what's happening, so here's why I'm not really interested in doing it, is because I'm getting some type checking automatically from NeoVim. Well, I'm not getting it from NeoVim. I'm getting it from my Python LSP, language server protocol server, which is running the LSP that powers VS Code, which is why actually, like, if you've seen me coding, like, let's bring up, I don't know, some of the models files. There will be, nope, not here, apparently. Here we go. So it's a little overzealous sometimes. Like, there's this diagnostic of, I don't care about this particular check, but I would have to tell my editor to ignore that stuff. So that's also, it's doing some type checking already for me, but I'm just not getting at the CI level. But since I'm the only one really writing code right now, and my editor is helping me, I don't feel a strong need to do that at the moment. So we have it on pre-commit. That's great. Oh, it has it. There you go. Oh, I see what you're saying. It has it, but I just rolled over it. Okay. What did they call it? What section was it in, John? Was it in the settings? Just like my eyes just scan right by it. Maybe it's just late in the evening for me. I would have expected to see MyPy, but oh, type checking. That's what you're saying. Or maybe that was a. So is this the same as MyPy? Flaky type. Oh. It's doing some specific stuff for the typing module. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, for the reasons I outlined, I'm not really like gonna dig super deep into that right now. Looks like there's some stuff on Vim and NeoVim. Let's explore that. I suspect it's something we can just add to Mason or add via Mason. Ruff support. Oh, interesting. There's a Ruff LSP. So I could go deep on this if I wanted to. But I also have my own LSP. That's weird. I'm getting confused by this. Okay. So this is standard LSP stuff, and there's like a rough LSP configuration. Okay. Is this what I have to do in order to hook this in? I shouldn't think so. I've got... All right. Hold on. Let's go into my editor config for a minute. So right now I have like some Python tools. I've got formatters hooked up this way. It's running black and isort on save. But maybe I don't want to do that. Although, crap. So I know that null ls is this like recently dead project, sadly. Although there might be a fork that's maintaining it. Got to the mute button that time. Okay, anyway, so there's the way this is working in my NeoVim setup currently. It's like I have this this concept was having a tool that will integrate into the LSP interface. So NeoVim has hooks that let you go into LSP, and LSP, one of them is like a formatting option. It's somewhere up above here. I'm drawing a blank on a specific command name. Here it is, buff format. Okay. So in order to make use of that, you have to have a formatter available. So it's looking for this. So in order to make that formatter available, like sometimes our formatters are not provided, like the Python language, the LSP that I have, doesn't provide formatting. So in order to actually get formatting for Python, I had to use this null ls, which is things that are not meant to be language servers themselves, but they want to hook into some piece of the language server protocol. And this was the way to do that. And it was, maybe not optimal. Like, I think what these will do is just kind of run serially on save, but null ls is kind of smoothing over that roughness between the expectations of what the LSP does and what's provided by other tools. So there's a question of, does Ruff have one of these? Can I integrate that? But there's also like some of the stuff comes from other tools. So you can see I've got LSPs, but I also have this linter section. So the linting I'm getting is currently from Flakegate directly. But I bet down here is Ruff. There it is. Install. Install, go. All right, so now I've got Ruff. That's good. Question is like, so Ruff's probably also going to show up here? What did I just do? Didn't mean to do that, I guess. I tried to hit Control F to go forward. So Ruff is not on Mason's formatter list. So it doesn't behave as a formatter, at least from Mason's point of view. But it is installed as a lint. It's like, I don't understand how this is going to all be wired up. So there's a chance that I'm actually still getting some stuff from isort. Shoot. Okay, what happens now? Let's get out of here. Let's go back to that models file. All right, still doing it. So did iSort do that or did Ruff do that? Now I don't know. Okay. So maybe there's nothing I need to do. Ruff can be integrated into any editor that supports the language server protocol. I might have to play with this offline. There's a bunch of stuff there. I don't have to put this in GitHub Actions. So I have my tests running there, but remember, all of my CI checks are run by pre-commit CI. In fact, let's take this out, my pie. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question, John. I don't know if I can actually, I'm not even sure. How do I turn off black in my, there might be a way to, well, yeah, you're right. I mean, I could go to my vimrc and just like literally disable it. Disable, I guess in this case it would be iSort. Oh, iSort was in the check section. Or sorry, Ruff was in the linter section. And so those would show up as linter changes. But Ruff doesn't run as a format thing right now. Okay, I'm not going to fret about it. It's pretty late. I think I've been going for quite a while. So let's see. Let's do one scan through this and declare victory. So we cleaned up a bunch of stuff out of pre-commit. Like almost all of it. We're left with the linter and the formatter from Ruff. It found some stuff. That's cool. We fixed those things. We get a much simpler overall PyProject HOML. We add Ruff. We delete that other config file. Yeah, I feel good. So John, I appreciate the suggestion of switching this. I know I was kind of hesitant, but I do think seems like a clear win. I didn't realize it had all this power. I thought it was just like a Flakegate replacement. So yeah, I appreciate the encouragement to go check it out. Replace lots of tools with Ruff. And that fixes what number? Um, 36. So we'll say we did do something, so that's fine. We got those. This fixes 36. Cool. Where does that leave us? We're down to 19 issues. Many things to go. Well, I think we're kind of masters of our own destiny in terms of what to do next. I think what I will do is I will report back next week. I'm going to actually use my tool. Well, I'm going to cross my fingers that it works, and I will validate. No, something that I will do offline is validating that that I'm getting data in there. I told you it's hard for me to like really show you the data because it just dumps out. Well, in this case, it would actually dump out real journal entries. So, as much as I like you all, I don't plan on sharing all of my inner thoughts to everyone in that way. Validate that it's producing data journal entries that I believe in, and it'll give me a chance to see if I put in a couple of them, if the random selection stuff is also working, because there's a random choice element here that I have only assumed, I mean, we've tested it, but I have only assumed it's operable. And I won't really be able to see that until I have some data into the system. Still trying to understand your comment here, John. Suggest later adding get ignore as an ignore for checks later. I don't know if you can unpack that one. I'm not really clear on what am I adding get ignore to the ignore configuration of Ruff, or vice versa? Am I adding something about that Ruff generates to my get ignore file? Wasn't really clear. And was that not part of the default list? Because there was a default configuration. Wasn't it on there? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe that's what you're saying. Like it scans through get ignore. My get ignore is so short though. I'm not too worried about it, but maybe there's something else you're trying to say. Anyway, oh, okay. I see. Yeah, that's powerful. I've done that with other tools like ripgrep. Ripgrep will ignore files to scan for based off of what's in your get ignore. Well, let's do that real quick. That one sounds interesting. That it's probably in settings. Do you know what that setting is called off the top of your head? Or maybe just from your experience? Ignore? No. Respect get ignore? Whether to automatically exclude files ignored by get ignore. Well, the default value is true. So is that not indicating that it's going to pay attention to get ignore? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what this is about. So it seems like we already get this, which is cool. All right, so getting back to like the theme of what we're going to do in the future is I'm going to validate stuff. I'm going to make sure that that core loop is operable. And next week, if something is not operable about it, we'll fix it. That'll be priority number one. Then we'll actually be in control to start connecting other stuff. I think probably early on that list needs to be some pages you can visit. So that's going to force us to actually have some HTML templates in place. We'll need to get the ability to have Tailwind in order to style things with CSS. That's going to require some JavaScript configuration, a JavaScript build pack in order to build the right CSS file. Sort of core stuff in there that way. Once that stuff is in place, we can actually hook up an accounts. I can make a basic login flow, get all that set up, and then I think we work on Stripe after that. We got a whole long list of stuff to do. So that's where my brain is going. Of like, it's time to make. We've got the core engine working. Now let's work on the front door and put a coat of paint on it. So that's the plan. Thank you all for joining in this evening. John, thanks for all the comments and feedback. It was super useful. Hopefully you all had an interesting time here with what we're doing. We're making progress. We've got a lot left to do, but this is good fun work. And with that, I'll bid you all farewell. Goodbye.